Well.
Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, second episode. We're getting into it.
Still good.
Oh, let's just get into it.
Yeah.
Dorit and Kyle. We start off back at the surrealism party. And they kind of go over, right, the whole Dorit Kyle sit down and, I'm not putting up with it anymore. You tossed me and used me and threw me away. And Kyle wants to get to the other side. And we have to have an honest conversation and you have to listen and blah, 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 blah. So we pick it up there.
Yep.
And basically, let's see. They were just really rehashing more of, the Amazon Live thing. And when that's really Dorit's part of her beef, that the Amazon Live, like she went on there and said they weren't that close. And I think that was just the straw that broke it.
Oh, yeah.
For our friend Dorit. And she said
that was sticking a knife right in.
I feel like Kyle just took 8 years of friendship and flushed it down the toilet.
8 years of sisterly friendship.
Yes, sisterhood and friendship. And then she said why she did it. And it was the whole BravoCon, Kathy first comment. And they talked about that, Kathy, that was such a tongue-in-cheek thing. That was so...
It was tongue-in-cheek. And then... I don't know how Kyle saw it another way.
But then they're shooting back to the BravoCon footage. And then, on a panel afterward, Kyle started to cry when she was asked about it.
Yeah.
Kyle...
And Dorit apparently said that it was a little dramatic, her tearing up.
Yeah.
Right? Allegedly, Dorit said that.
And she said, no, it wasn't a joke, Dorit. It wasn't a joke. And then you also said that, and then Kyle says to Dorit, well, you said that I turn on the tears for attention.
Yeah.
And Dorit's like, am I an idiot? I'm not an idiot.
No.
I don't know. And then Andy asked her about Morgan's relationship. About Kyle and Morgan's relationship.
Yeah.
Asked Dorit on Watch What Happens Live.
Yeah.
And then I remember watching that. And she basically said, ever since she's been friends with Morgan, it's affected our relationship. She's like, I'm sorry, Kyle, but it has. And that's the way that I feel.
But what's so wrong with saying that?
But apparently it got her in trouble with Morgan somehow. I don't know why.
So Morgan isn't comfortable being on the show and being talked about?
It really sounds like Kyle and Morgan are a couple, but Kyle won't say it. At least back last season, Kyle would never say it. It's just this weird relationship between two women.
It is confusing.
It's confusing. Not weird, confusing.
Yeah.
And
we're all trying to connect the dots.
Who gets in trouble with their friend for talking about their closeness?
I don't know.
It seems more of an amorous, a lover's relationship.
Yeah.
Right?
Look, here's the thing with what Dorit said on Watch What Happens Live. If you're a real true friend vested in the friendship, you'll talk after and go, I'm so sorry that you feel that way.
Right. And she said,
listen, I'm turning to Morgan because she's a new friend and I'm going through a lot and she's helping me. That's all. But I don't want anything to happen with our friendship. That's it.
And Dorit said, you isolated me.
Iced her out. Yeah.
Right. And she said Kyle was pissed because of what she said on Watch What Happens Live. She isolated her. And then she said, why didn't you come to me, Kyle? And she said, I didn't have it in me. Mm-hmm. I didn't have it in me to come to you.
Yeah, I didn't have it in me.
I don't know. And she was like, this has been the hardest 2 years of my life. And then Dorit was like, yeah, okay. She's like, I gave you a little too. She's like, can't you give me a little grace? And she was like, I think I give you a little too much grace. Grace time is over. I was like, good for you. This is a whole new Dorit.
Yeah, she's on fire.
Dorit was definitely...
She's charged.
Very sedate. But I think she's like, fuck it. I lost my marriage. I've lost my husband. Mm-hmm. This woman has not treated me the way I want to be treated with. Now
she's tired of it.
And now I'm going to talk the way I really want to talk and not worried about hurting Kyle's feelings or Maurizio and PK, Right. She said, this is... Oh, and then I thought it was interesting when Kyle was like, this is not a friendship that I recognize. That is not a Dorit. I felt like I was talking to an imposter. Mm-hmm. Why? Because Dorit finally stood up to you,
for
Kyle.
Herself instead of going
up to you. Yeah. Instead of being like, Kyle, because Dorit's very passive in all the other episodes. And Kyle's like the alpha
always
dog.
Passive. And Kyle is the alpha in the friendship, for sure.
Right.
No question.
Moving forward.
Yeah. She kind of leads. Kyle's always led that friendship. So the fact that, Dorit came back to her, it kind of threw her off. Like, what?
And Dorit is fed up with the friendship, and she's not keeping her mouth shut anymore.
I think it's good for Dorit.
Yeah, and she said, I need to have a voice. It's bigger, better, stronger than ever.
Yeah.
And she flips the bird.
Good for her.
I'm not flipping you for our YouTube. I have my big fat bird up right now, my middle finger. I'm not flipping you guys off. I'm just doing my Dorit impression of her giving the old bird.
Yeah,
so
that
was that
good.
whole thing, and that was sort of how it, kind of came into it. But
Yeah.
I agree. I love this Dorit, and I'm not.
So do
And
I.
I like Kyle too, so I'm not like happy to see them fighting, but I
Yeah.
do like Dorit standing up for herself.
Yes.
And I do like her kind of standing up to Kyle.
Yeah, I do too.
You know?
For once, I think it's overdue. So
Let me tell you, moving on to our friend Bozama,
Bozama, but it is Boze, like we were
Boze,
saying
yeah.
last week. It's definitely Boze.
I want to say that she is the greatest casting ever.
I love it.
This is
I
the
love
greatest
it.
casting. This is the coolest chick.
Yes.
This is exactly who should be on the show.
This is a breath of fresh air. The show so needed.
She's gorgeous.
She's gorgeous.
Her name means goddess. So
Yes.
when you're saying
It's goddess.
you're
Isn't that great?
summoning the goddess. But her
She's such a
braids-
vision and a presence,
Oh.
and she's got a strong personality,
Love
and she's confident.
And she's like,
She's
what do you want to
great.
know? She's like, Ford's has me as #1 chief marketing officer, CMO in the
Oh,
world.
amazing.
Fast Company had her. She does these
Badass.
badass podcasts or workshops. So
And then it said boss bitch, which I love too.
yeah. Oh no, it's great. And
It's
then
great.
she said something to the effect of like, she's like, I thought retirement was going to be putting my legs up, and she's like, ha ha ha, that's a different sort of profession, or that's a different type of work. Like she's
Right.
funny too.
She really is.
So it was funny.
She's got such a strong personality.
She
It's
does.
great.
And it was funny how she was like, I was looking for my, sort of black prince to come along. And then she marries this Italian white guy.
Right.
Has no black friends, I think she said.
Yeah.
But her daughter's 15, Lael.
Yeah, is that how she said it?
Lael, I believe.
Yeah.
But I felt bad that her husband died of cancer and he's never
When
gonna
the
get to
daughter
know
was
the
4.
daughter. Yeah, but I can't wait to know more about her. I want to know everything
Oh,
about her.
me too.
She
was
best
the most
casting.
exciting part of this episode. Just seeing her life a little more, going into her life. It was great. I was like, oh, I love her.
personality. She's strong.
Me
She's
too.
funny, but at the same time, she's
too.
completely relatable.
Yeah,
As
of
somebody
course.
who's,
yes.
if you look at her accomplishments to your basic,
Yeah.
your basic bitch out there is not relatable.
Yeah.
However, she comes off very down to earth.
Yes.
And just very cool.
She literally worked her way up the corporate ladder.
Yeah, and she was
So,
there. So
yeah.
we're looking forward to seeing more about her, and I'm glad they're letting us in a little bit
I do.
into her life.
Mm-hmm.
And
I liked her house too.
Now, oh yeah, her house was cool too.
It was cool. What was she saying? It was gold and rhinestones.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah. It was great. She was putting gold dust on the food.
I love that she's putting gold dust.
Oh, that's just so.
Is it
it's
good
great.
to eat gold dust? Where do you get
It's edible. You
gold
can get
dust?
edible gold
Oh,
dust.
right, because
Yeah,
I remember
you
from
could
a
do it.
Top Chef, but another Bravo show, Top Chef, which I love. They always putting like they did a Top Chef baking, and they were always putting like glitter and gold
Glitter
dust on
gold.
all the cakes. And
Oh.
everything. So I should know that.
That
So
would be
was
a Bose cake.
just a little side note. So Sutton and Kyle meet up at what hotel was that? I didn't happen to see.
I
where
know.
they
I
were.
was going to ask you that. They
couldn't
probably
tell.
showed it. Was it it wasn't the Beverly Hills Hotel?
No. It was a hotel
very
that I've never
nice.
seen before.
Okay.
But I thought it was interesting that when they were talking and Sutton seems to be very, very keen on Kyle
Filing.
because she basically says that
Should
anything
Kyle file?
Well, should Kyle file? Well, according to Sutton, she should, because anything from the time that she files forward is hers. And that was her reasoning behind it.
Okay.
Like, but
You mean like from here on out?
correct.
Okay.
Anything Kyle does from this point of filing forward is her own money.
Okay.
But I thought it was interesting, and Kyle didn't seem to really care because she's like, well, the agency is half mine.
And I didn't know that. Did you?
Well,
I didn't know she had half the agency.
here's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
The reason that Kyle, and she's like, basically he said in her book like that we started out together, and the reason why he even has the agency is coming from the fact that Rick Hilton
Yeah.
is Kyle's brother-in-law.
Yeah.
And Kathy obviously is her sister.
Yep.
And that basically he used that as a jumping off because he worked for Hilton and Highland, and then of course he had all of these issues with them over the years because he decided to up and out and take some of their people. So I think Maurizio, when she was like, we've had our up and downs with Mo, you know, Kathy
I
said,
understand that.
we've had our up and downs with Mo, and that I think he was a lot of the reason why Kathy and Kyle were not speaking.
Definitely.
Because Maurizio, aka Mo, was basically just doing what he wanted and kind of dicking over the Hilton Highland people.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I did think it was fascinating, and I thought it was a little naive of Kyle to think like, well, I'm getting half the agency. We're just going to cut it in half, and that's it. And Sutton's
Is that
going,
what she meant?
Yes. And Sutton's sitting there going,
men,
I have learned the hard way. Do not like to part with their money. I mean, that's $1 billion company now. I think it's worth like $1 billion. You think you're getting $500 million of that, Kyle? Because you helped him create it through your contacts. I don't know if it's going to be that clean and that easy.
Yeah, right.
Stuffy nose Maurizio, who has now taken you off his desk. He took you out of the frame and put his Dancing with the Stars partner in that frame on his desk in his office.
Yeah. And was it a picture of him and her together?
I think it was a picture of him and her together, maybe from Dancing with the Stars.
So maybe he was trying to innocently showcase, like, I was on Dancing with the Stars, but no,
he's not innocently. He had that picture of Kyle on his desk that they always would show.
Yeah,
that, like, she's my love.
Yeah, yeah.
And now it's like, Kyle, you're out and you've gone downhill. But she said, we're not typical. We're not a typical people. We didn't have a typical marriage. We don't have a typical. And hopefully, what Kyle was insinuating, I think, is we're not going to have a typical divorce. We're going to do this clean
and amicably,
easy and amicably. And Kyle, for you, I hope so. But your friend Sutton is looking at you like, Kyle, you think so now, Kyle? But
Sutton knows with her $350,000 a month that she gets in spousal support.
I mean, absolutely.
Isn't that so nice?
Absolutely stunning. $350,000 a month. And Eric was like, shut up. When she was like, you're getting something every week, every month. I'm getting nothing. I have to go out and be Erika Jane. I have to pay for my own Glam.
You do the best impersonation.
It's not a great
of her.
Erika Jane, but
it is.
It's like what I have. Like, come on, stop. So I like that Erika and Dorit went over to Boze's house.
Yes.
And she's like, I think Dorit was taken aback. She's like, I would not have worn my Chanel mules. They really make the outfit if I knew I had to take my shoes off.
Yeah.
But I like that she gave them little booties.
I saw they got the slippers.
They got little slippers.
They had the
little
slippers.
Booty.
Yes.
Boze, just again, fabulous.
Fabulous.
Can't say it enough.
Yep. So I think we're seeing a nice little friendship form among these three. Definitely Boz and Dorit are hitting it off. And now Erika's coming into the fold. So I like this.
I'm sorry. I love the Dorit and Boze.
Oh, me too.
Love
I
that
think
friendship.
it's a genuine friendship
because
there.
I think Dorit is cool and she's not a mean
girl.
Yeah,
she is. No, she's not. She's not going to hurt people. She's not out to hurt people.
Is just freaking fabulous.
Yeah, I know.
And they were basically, what were they talking about?
I think they were talking about what happened with Kyle. Well, this was interesting.
They were shooting back and forth.
Boze was trying, with Sutton and Kyle, and then with Boze, Erika,
and it was really
and
just
Dorit.
About saying that's, what's going on
Well, Boze is
Kyle.
trying to get the scoops. Like, why are you guys fighting in the first place? But the thing is that where did it all start from? Because I think that's what Dorit was even trying to figure out. Like, I can't even figure out how this event.
Oh, you mean her and Kyle?
Her and Kyle.
I think it was
like the fallout. I do still stand by thinking that two reunions ago, when she was kind of sort of sticking up for Kathy for like a second.
She was already pissed.
I think Kyle, that just
and
forgot
then the BravoCon thing, and then her getting on.
It was just
saying,
one thing, little thing after another.
And then her getting.
But it was little things,
right? But then her getting on saying we're not really close, like that. We already talked about that. That really threw.
Yeah,
because they were families, were friends, and PK and Mo are so close, and they were spending Shabbats on Friday nights, and.
Do you think there was always a rumor floating out there that there might have been some flirtation going on between Mo and Dorit. Do you think Kyle has a little bit of that too?
That's a good point.
Because I don't think anything ever happened.
That is
with those
something
two,
to ponder. But honestly, I always saw Dorit looking at PK with stars in her eyes, like PK.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
PK said, she laughed and she was.
I know.
You know what I mean? I think she only had eyes for him. I honestly don't think. I really don't.
No, I don't think so either.
And she also said it on Watch What Happens Live. She's like, it's so ludicrous to even think that Moritz and I would have been together. Like,
yeah, exactly.
She just shut that down. And honestly, I believe her.
I believe her. I don't think anything from her. However, it could have been Mo that was always kind of eyeing Dorit. Maybe Kyle didn't like that.
I think it's
I don't know.
Side eye because Mo is just basically stoned half the time or on gummies or just taking a giant hit off a blunt. So I just think he's just like, like his eye. He can't even probably control his eyeballs half the time. Half of those parties, Maurice at the end of the table, like, oh yeah. I mean, he's just shit faced. You know what I mean? So, what I thought was great was when they were talking over at Boze's house when they sidebar to Erika, and Erika's like, Kyle and Dorit are both going through separation, and they're at each other's throats. And then she's like, Mo and PK are having the best time, and we're fighting. And these two are ripping each other's throats out in Encino. Like, how did this happen? Like, it's hysterical. Right. Like, men and women are so different. Like, these two are two emotional messes. They're beating the crap out of each other. Yeah. And then Maurice and PK are like, all right, let's go out. Where are we going? Yeah. But, now it's sober PK.
Which he mentions at the dinner, which we're going to talk about.
And they ask about, actually, Boze and Erika ask about PK, and she's just saying, well, that they just think he's at work, but he's living in a hotel, which isn't really much different from their life before that, because he was always gone. Oh, PK's off with,
he was in London
with George. He's off with boy George.
He was filming that cheap show in London.
I know. And then she said there's also a possibility of a chance of reconciliation. However, I just heard her on Bravo's Hot Mic podcast, and she's like, now that I think about it, I think it was all a little confusing for Dorit in the beginning, because she was like, we were fine, and then all of a sudden we're getting separated. It's like PK was like the black and white. Like, I think we should separate. And I think Dorit was like, why? Like, I think we could work this out. You know what I mean? She always looked a little confused. But just hearing her on Bravo's Hot Mic this past week, she's like, this was really the best thing for us. To do.
Yeah. I agree, actually. So,
I just thought now we're shooting to Sutton and Avi. And now Avi is her property manager, but that makes me laugh because last season I think he was her assistant.
He was her assistant.
Now what has he been? He's been upgraded to property manager.
Well, is that what it said under his name?
Yeah,
it said property.
It says Sutton's property manager.
Huh. Well, maybe he's still her assistant, but he's also her property. He wants a better title.
So Sutton says she wants to be there for Kyle because she needs friends now.
Yeah.
So they're gonna do this
pizza party.
Yeah,
and pizza and pajama party, and they're gonna surprise Kyle at her house.
Yeah. Which was like
Amazon. Kathy in the car. Amazon.
Something about her voice creeps me out.
Kathy is.
I really don't know why.
I love her, but she is somewhat certifiable. She looked a little thrown together. I was like, wait, what's going on? Her shirt
did she
kind of
just get out of bed? She always looks great, but she rolled out of bed.
A little disheveled,
tiny bit.
I'm telling you, the woman walks through an airport with slippers and like barely dressed. I mean, this is Kathy Hilton here. All the money that's fit to give, she's got it.
Well,
so
she needs to be comfortable.
It was a little crazy, but I did like Amazon.
And then, of course, the dog is running. They can't get to the gate. Somebody else. Can you get that? I don't know who else. Maybe she has a house manager who lives with her.
Right. But they come in, they surprise her, and they all have pizza, and then they're talking about this divorce and the money, and then it all comes about. But Kyle is basically saying we are not the norm.
Right, which is what I said before.
Which is what you
we're
said
not
before.
The normal family. We're not the normal. But I love that Kathy was like referring to the shirtless selfies, and then they show all of his thirsty ass. Did you see those where he's taking pictures of him in the gym and
did.
He's got his teeny tiny shorts on.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. I honestly, Maurizio, you're 50 something years old.
Yeah.
Your body is not great. Like, it's amazing how men think. Like, it's not a bad body. I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
But, like, no, I'm sorry, Kyle. I mean, not Kyle. Maurice.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to see you half naked in the gym. Like, I don't know what woman. I think because he thinks he's got, $1 billion in the bank that he's hotter than he is. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Maybe.
I just don't. Would that turn you on? If
No,
you were
but
scrolling through, would you be like, I need to have that?
I mean, I don't see it, but a lot of the Bravo fans find him to be one of the hotter house husbands.
But that always shocked me.
But I never,
because the other ones were all
I mean, he's definitely looks.
He's not
great,
bad,
but
I think it's just because he was under 60.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe.
Look who are we picking from? PK,
Ken.
Ken, the dinosaur. I mean, he can barely even stay awake in any episode. So exactly.
Yeah.
Let's all come together here.
Okay.
So Maurice. And that's
but
what she
that's
said.
when Kathy was kind of making fun of his looks.
Yeah,
a little
does
bit. She
not
was like, "You
that.
look like his daughter," to Kyle.
Right, and she was like, "All I want to say is move on." Move on. You can tell there's no love lost between Kathy.
Oh, definitely not. Even showed her in the confessional saying
Maurizio.
that. He said some stuff about us that we don't appreciate. Look, I mean, Mo definitely wouldn't have gotten to where he was today without the Hiltons.
Of course not.
Right?
And without being given the job.
Without being given that opportunity.
I'm sure he was just a local Beverly Hills realtor, and then he decided that
he joined in. They took him in under his wing, and then he winds up exiting and, like you said, taking people with him.
And I'm not saying that he hasn't done good things.
No, he's great.
And built this business.
And he's
but
very
at the end
smart
of
and
it,
successful, of course.
You know what I mean? Like, you had that little
can see that
thing going into it.
For sure.
All right, so the PK and Dorit. This was an interesting.
It was
little discussion.
Yeah, it was.
It was like
it was so strange to see.
It was the PK and Dorit that we've never seen.
Yes.
Before.
Yeah.
I mean, they really were putting it on because
do you think that I have to ask? Do you think they were playing it up a little bit?
Well, I think they have been playing it up, like faking it over the last how many seasons?
Okay,
as they were
so
a happy couple.
This Dorit and PK was the real.
I think this is the real PK.
Oh wow! Because I'm like, are they just really trying to play this up because they're playing up their separation for the storyline?
Really
although they're truly separated.
I think they were just whatever you want, darling. Forever, and it's just yes, PK, and then they're biting each other's heads off, and they're not nice to each other.
Right.
I thought it was interesting when he said, if we treated the server, if we spoke to the server the way that we speak to each other, we would get kicked out of this restaurant.
Right.
So I think that's the real PK.
Yeah.
And then when he stood up and said, single PK, and he showed his outfit, you got new clothes. I don't think, she goes, how does he go from father, husband to single PK?
Right.
Like in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
In like 48 hours.
But then he was saying that she makes him feel less than.
Yeah, she's like, he's never put it that way before.
Yeah.
And making somebody feel less than is definitely a big statement.
Yeah, it is.
And you don't want to be around somebody who's making you feel that way. And she's like, I just don't think we really like each other. And she's like, do you not like me? And he's like, well, when you talk to me sometimes, I don't like you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think these guys
I
have
think
way
you
more
make a
issues.
point. In the past with them, you've always seen them bickering, but you never thought, oh, their marriage is going to come apart. But now we can see because they were doing like little silly bickering.
We only
back
really
and
saw
forth.
them bickering or not happy when the veil was kind of lifted a little, was after
the home invasion.
Yep. And then she was like, I need you here, and where are you, kind of, and the first kind of the veil was lifted again that once when he did that Pretty Woman thing, and you could say she was really kind of less than thrilled.
Yes.
And he was like, well, I'm not going to do any more surprises,
Yeah.
It was just like, so you started to kind of see like a crack in the plaster there.
Yes, that's true.
And then all of a sudden, but I think his thing was like, look, you used to be socially vibrant, you were my Bonnie and Clyde. You were right near me. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, but then you had 2 kids, PK.
Yeah.
You know, Mr. Kingsley.
Yeah.
Like, this is life.
Yeah.
Like, you wanted to still go out every night, but who's staying with your kids? And you're off with Boy George. So
It changes.
It changes the dynamic. And he's like, we're family. We'll always be there for each other, which was nice. I'll be there for you. You'll be there for me. Vice versa. However,
Yep. They're not
he
going to
doesn't
talk
want to
5
talk
times a
5
day.
times a day. And she's like, ooh. Like Dorit was like taken aback. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think she wants to sort of lose him in that sort of security blanket.
Well, they're like best friends.
That don't like
right?
each other.
That don't like each other. It's
Right?
it's very interesting. So
They've gone to break the codependency.
yes, there's a
However, I
codependency.
really did think though that they were very surface, and now they're letting us in a little bit. So
Yeah.
I think this is the dawning of the age of PK and Dorit, where we're seeing like the actual couple. And don't believe everything you see on Instagram, and don't believe everything you see on TV.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
this is what's going on. So we are on to the next episode.
Right.
But Beverly Hills is shaping up to be very good. Apparently, it's an epic season.
Yeah, it is. What happens next week? Were we watching the previews? It looks like it's going to be good.
I'm not sure, but I'm sure it's going to be more of same with a little bit of
Yeah,
little drama sprinkled in.
of course.
All right, so we are out from Beverly Hills.
It was so good.
It was great.
Yeah.
And everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. And
yes.
we will see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.